Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Today's March 18th, 2016. It is day 2 of the men's Division 1 college basketball tournament, better known as March Madness. In this video, I want to talk about the outcomes of yesterday's games, and I also want to talk about the potential upset that could happen later this afternoon, about 3 hours from now. Number 1 seed, Oregon, is playing number 16 seed Holy Cross. In the history of the men's basketball tournament, the number 1 seed has never lost to the number 16 seed. The record is 0 wins and 120 something losses. So this would be a major upset, unprecedented. If I were a betting man, I would actually bet on Holy Cross to win this game because the payout is huge and because I think there is a better opportunity for Holy Cross to upset Oregon than there has ever been the possibility of a 16 upsetting a 1 before. Oregon is a relatively weak number 1. A lot of people were surprised that they were put there. And I see a parallel with this matchup and the Oregon versus Texas Christian University Alamo Bowl, which was scripted by the numbers, which had an unprecedented comeback, a record comeback for a bowl game in the second half. So we're going to talk about this matchup, why I would bet on Holy Cross, why I think the odds are worth it, and then we're also going to review yesterday's outcomes to back up further why Holy Cross could win today. So what I noticed in yesterday's upsets, Little Rock winning, the Shockers winning over Arizona, both of these teams had 44 gematria. And I did a video saying why I thought the championship would be North Carolina and Kansas before it was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, before Obama made the pick. Anyhow, part of the reasoning was the number 44. The championship this year is on 4-4, April 4th, which has a date numerology of 44 as well this year. These numbers are of great significance. They've been heavily coded into sports championships in recent history, as I've documented on this video channel. With all this 44 in mind, I noticed that Holy Cross, who Oregon is playing, has gematria of 44. To me, this is another drop in the bucket for probability of an upset. The odds are still that Oregon will win. They're the number 1. Holy Cross is the number 16. It's never happened before. But wouldn't 2016, emphasis on 16, also be a fitting year for the 16 to upset the 1 in a world of sports that are rigged by the numbers? Earlier this year, I guaranteed Alabama would win the college football championship to earn their 16th title in 16. They did. So we're following this kind of logic. With regards to 44 and 16, 4 times 4 also equals 16. Just another mathematical relationship. It could be coincidence, but I'm trying to pound home a point. So here's what else is interesting about the name Holy Cross facing Oregon. In gematria, cross equals 74, a very special number to the Freemasons who created our English language. Both English and gematria, both words also sum to 74, just like cross. Out of the 50 states, there is only one state that sums to 74. That is Oregon. Oregon equals 74. Oregon is the 33rd state. When I say cross and I say 33, what do you think of? Some of you might think of Jesus crucified on the cross at age 33. Jesus also equals 74, just like cross. Just like Oregon's the 33rd state, the only with gematria of 74. And as you study this language of gematria, you see 33 and 74 are paired together in spirituality, science, geography, and more. Here it is coming together in a sports game. Oregon's abbreviated OR, like the word or. O's the 15th letter, R's the 18th. Even the abbreviation's 33. I should also note that Masonic is 74. 74, a Masonic signature. Think about this nation's birthday, 7/4. The first ever college basketball championship was in the year 39. Oregon won, defeating Ohio. Oregon equals 74, Ohio equals 47. Two states equal 47, Ohio, Nevada. Only one equals 74, Oregon. The first college playoff championship in football the other year was Oregon versus Ohio State. Ohio State won that, 47-74 again. The first Super Bowl was in the 47th season of the NFL. The first NBA basketball championship was in 47. 47-74. Important numbers to the Masons who rigged these sports by the numbers, college and professional. So TCU, who defeated Oregon in the Alamo Bowl, wore purple just like Holy Cross. And the final score of the Alamo Bowl was 47-41. TCU defeated Oregon in a major comeback. Notice that's a sum of 88 points. Purple equals 88. One of these multiples of 11, special number. Christian also equals 47. TCU, Texas Christian University, won 47-41. Later that same night, the Oregon standoff would start. And as I pointed out, the football game, the scripted College Alamo Bowl game, was connected to the scripted Oregon standoff, which was a controlled opposition event put on by our Masonic federal government. And I predicted from the very beginning that the standoff would last 41 days. It lasted exactly 41 days. It began January 2nd. It ended on the 42nd day of the year, February 11th. Alamo equals 42. The Alamo lasted 13 days. The number 41 is the 13th prime number. The Oregon standoff, which was a tribute to the Alamo, lasted 41 days. The 13th prime number, the Alamo, lasted 13 days. Hope you're following me. This was at the conclusion of the Alamo Bowl, which Oregon played in and lost to a Texas team. Go back and watch my videos. There's a whole lot of information, but there's a reason I was able to predict the standoff would last 41 days, and there's a reason it lasted 41 days. I'm not in the business of making predictions. I'm just trying to show people how the world is scripted by the Freemasons who rule over us from the shadows. People like to sniffle and snark and laugh about chatter such as the Illuminati, but this is who the Illuminati is. A gang of highly connected Masonic assholes that abide by a numerological code. They keep the rigging in place with money, another thing they control. Anyhow, another thing I noticed last night in light of this information is that the San Antonio Spurs, San Antonio is where the Alamo happened, they hosted the Portland Trail Blazers last night from Oregon on day one of the tournament. San Antonio was 33-0, hosting the team from the 33rd state. That game last night, possibly foreshadowing. Another thing about 16, as in a 16 defeating a number 1 in the year 2016, 16 in Gematria sums to 33, number we talked a lot about. Also 42, like Freemason, like Alamo. These numbers are coded on all sorts of significant events from history. Masonic ownership over history, sports, and so much more. And again, Masonic equals 74, just like Oregon, just like Jesus, just like cross. Other words with 74 Gematria, gospel, the story of Jesus. Messiah equals 74, Jewish. Some people say Jesus was a Jew. The Jewish Old Testament comes before the New Testament with Jesus. Special number 74. Let me show you some things from the Alamo Bowl in case you missed my work on that. All night they were showing this highlight. Oregon was up big in the first half, 2-2-3. In history, the Alamo went from February 23rd, 2/23, to 13 days later, March 6th. And all night they show this for the Alamo Bowl. Masonic also equals 2-2-3 in Jewish Gematria, 74 in simple English like Oregon. At halftime, Oregon was up 31-0. Alamo Bowl, Pythagorean Gematria equals 31. Then after halftime, Oregon gave up their monumental lead for an unprecedented comeback, and they did it to a backup quarterback. Look at this ESPN timestamp, 33 seconds. 35 plus 6 is 41, the 13th prime, the number of points Oregon finished with. Anyway, that backup QB's name in gematria equaled 42, just like Alamo. All part of the scripting by the numbers. It's a big joke these Masons play, laughing at everyone's expense while they collect their money. People thinking they're watching something that's real, not a theatrical performance. And then right at the end of the game, this happened. The standoff in Oregon. All part of a big scripted joke. Also, here's last night. ESPN was sure to let us know that San Antonio was 33-0 before hosting the team from the 33rd state. They got LaMarcus Aldridge up there in the picture, former Trailblazer, from Texas originally. So, okay, all that out of the way. The game tonight between Oregon and Holy Cross is in Spokane, where the Catholic school Gonzaga's from. Think about Catholicism, Christianity, Catholic Church, CC 33. Anyway, Spokane, Washington has the gematria you see on the screen. 85 stands out because basketball equals 85. Fitting town for a great basketball program. Small school that's always in the tournament. So yesterday, big upsets. Wichita State over Arizona. Wichita State, they call themselves the Shockers. Shockers in gematria equals 44. Another big upset yesterday. Little Rock, where Bill Clinton's from. Little Rock won yesterday, and Yale, where the Bush family's from. And, you know, think about the presidents. The 42nd president, the 43rd president. This year, Kansas is projected to win by the mainstream media. Obama, his mama from Kansas. Could all be big presidential tributes. Anyhow, Arkansas, big upset over the Purdue Boilermakers, 85-83. Again, this year, the college championship on April 4th, a date with 44 numerology, Little Rock equals 44. Little Rock is what's on the front of this team's jerseys. That score of 85 again, the basketball number. Purdue Boilermakers have some interesting gematria. 96 stands out for Freemason. The star player of Little Rock last night was Josh Higgins, who scored 31 points, and it was his 22nd birthday. He's the reason for the upset, they say, on his birthday. Here's what I want you to notice. Basketball and Pythagorean gematria equals 22, and with the S exception, 31. He scored 31 on his 22nd birthday. His name in gematria, Josh Higgins, has that special gematria 47, standout number. Higgins equals 58, like Freemasonry. He also has a life lesson number of 43. March equals 43. March Madness. From DC. Star player in the major upset. Something else that stood out to me, Providence over USC. Not a major upset, a number 9 over a number 8. Providence, though, I know in English gematria equals 666. And if you missed my North Carolina-Kansas prediction video, why I think North Carolina will defeat Kansas in the championship, I will link that in the description. Please check that out. That video is more important than this. This is just additional information. This is like chapter 2, that's chapter 1. Anyhow, Providence has gematria of 666. They're going to play University of North Carolina next. University of North Carolina is in their 106th year of existence, the number of prophecy. Prophecy in Jewish gematria also sums to 666, though. I think Providence will be a hallmark victory in North Carolina's wake to the national championship. Also, Gonzaga won yesterday, 11 seed upsetting a 6 seed, which isn't really that big of an upset because Gonzaga always wins early in the tournament and usually loses around Sweet 16 time. Pretty predictable program no matter where they're seated. Here's what I stood out, though. I noticed that they won the first half with 35 points. Gonzaga's a Catholic school. Gonzaga equals 35, so does Catholic. And in history, there's been one Catholic president, JFK, the 35th president. Catholic equals 35. Think about it. The word religion equals 53, the reflection. Gonzaga Bulldogs, as they're called, have gematria of 64, like March Madness. Always there in March Madness. So yesterday, another game at halftime, they were hyping it. Ooh, could a 16 beat a 1? Because Florida Gulf Coast University was just a point behind North Carolina at halftime. But anyway, by the end, North Carolina won. The score stood out to me because Florida Gulf Coast lost with 67 points. North Carolina equals 67. And North Carolina won with 83. 83 is the 23rd prime number. Think about Jordan winning in 82 with North Carolina before going to the NBA. It's been 34 years since Jordan won in 82. Tar Heels in Gematria equals 34. I think this is all part of the big coded tribute for North Carolina winning the championship soon enough. I tuned into the game. I saw all but maybe 3 minutes of this game. I turned on the TV for a quick second to see what was going on, and I caught it just in time to watch this. It put a big smile on my face. I probably turned on the game 15 seconds before this happened. North Carolina's number 44 catches and shoots the three ball from right here. Notice the score is 68-50. North Carolina went on a tear to start the second half after having a close first half. Here's 44 with the three-pointer. He nails it. The view goes to him, zooms in on him, number 44, with a score of 71. And clock ticks down. Here's why number 44 knocking in the 71st point with a three-pointer is significant. When you write out 44 as a word, it sums to 144. When you write out 71 as a word, it sums to 144. No other numbers do, only those two, and they often get paired together. Here's 44 scoring the 71st point. And then it goes straight to his mom, like it was all scripted, which it was. This was one of those shots. This is why he's on the court. This is why he plays for North Carolina. For everyone goes, but it's sports and it's athletics and misses happen. I agree. You know, he could have missed. But you have to remember, this is one of the best basketball players in the country. You know, I'm an amateur athlete. I grew up playing a lot of basketball. I can knock that shot down all day, wide open. And yeah, I could do it in a crowd of people. I play better with pressure. That's who these people are. They're even better. He plays for one of the best basketball programs in the nation. So that's how they knock down the scripted shots. Anyhow, 44 and 144 major numbers in sports, major numbers in history, major numbers in the tournament. Again, the championship's on April 4th, which equals 144, just like 44. Kansas versus UNC has the magic gematria of 144. And if you watch my first video I did, I talk about this number 923. It's so interesting that it was synced up like that. That could be coincidence, that could be number magic. But if you watch my first video on Kansas and North Carolina, I talk about 923. So check it out. The man who hit the shot, named Justin Jackson, number 44. Here's what else is interesting about Justin Jackson. In gematria, his name equals 67, like North Carolina. It's also got that 58 coding like Freemasonry. Jackson has a connection to 37 like Carolina. Carolina blue they wear. Justin's also a name with 93 gematria. Dean Smith equals 93. Dean Smith won the college championship in 93. And Justin Jackson, his birthday, in gematria, he has 142 birth numerology, just like University of North Carolina equals 142 in gematria. Talk about a fit. Talk about Manchurian athletes possibly born and bred to be. Be interesting to know what these mothers could tell us. Also standing out to me, the first game to finish the tournament was Duke versus Wilmington. Duke won with 93 points, a number I've been talking about. Again, Dean Smith equals 93, 1 in 93. Special number to the Masons and Zionists as well. Crucifix equals 93. Notice they won 93 to 85. Basketball equals 85. Two North Carolina teams. I think this might be a tribute for the greater North Carolina win for the Tar Heels that I am quite certain is coming. Could be wrong, but a lot's lining up. Also, at halftime, Yale was leading Baylor with a very interesting score. Or I guess it wasn't halftime, but it was when I checked in. And when I saw this score just right away, I said, oh, this is interesting. So Yale, the home of Skull and Bones, where the Bush family's from, equals 43, just like March. Yale's first time in the tournament in 54 years. Obama's currently 54. Osama died at age 54. Osama was also age 44 when 9/11 happened, and the World Trade Centers in history opened on April 4th. They lasted for 33 years. They were on the 74th meridian. If you can think about what I was saying about Jesus and cross, you might be able to put a little something there together from what I just said, but that's another topic. I have videos on that. Anyhow, trailing by 46, Connecticut equals 46, where Yale's from, March Madness equals 46. All of these numbers are connected to sacrifice, 46, 55, 73. Baylor in gematria equals 73. Might have just tuned in at a magical moment, but the upset was looking very real at that point, and then sure enough it happened. 79 to 75. Score stood out for multiple reasons. First major upset of the tournament, champion equals 79, so does the word murder. And with regards to 75, New World Order equals 75. And the reason I bring that up is because the Bushes, president number 41, president number 43, think about that. George W. Bush was the 43rd president. His brother Jeb was the 43rd governor of Florida. And they both have Connecticut, New Haven, Yale connections. Anyhow, New World Order equals 75, and both his father and his son, number 41 and 43, the Bushes, they both talked about the New World Order. Yale Skull and Bonesmen. At the end of the game, gematria of 232. This stands out to me for multiple reasons. Satan equals 232 in Jewish gematria. So does Oregon. And it looks like who they got right there is number 44, right on the screen. So this could all be pointing to multiple things. But just remember this. If Oregon gets upset, I think it was even coded into this headline. Oregon in Jewish gematria equals 232. It's all a big rigged web by these Masons with all sorts of clues everywhere. And I can't tell you everything because I don't understand everything. I only understand what I've learned from doing this research, from decoding. My work is ongoing. I'm always improving. That's why those who have stuck around, who follow this channel, have been rewarded. And you will be too if you tune in. I understand why I have skeptics, but my work at this point, it's almost like the most proven science out of all scientific theories you've ever seen. And that might sound arrogant to you, but I have really backed up my points, and with each passing day, my work becomes more and more proven. I just got to say it. So many people come here and attack and insult. It's because they don't have the intelligence, they don't have the mental capacity, and they don't have the patience. So something else I found out yesterday, the cover of Sports Illustrated has North Carolina on the cover. I didn't even know this. Everything lines up for North Carolina. They're even on the cover of SI. We got this dance with player Bryce Johnson. Bryce Johnson. Here's what stands out about Bryce Johnson. His name in gematria sums to 98. And 98 and 106 often get paired together. Prophet equals 98. Prophecy equals 106. These numbers were heavily coded together last year into the Philadelphia train wreck story, which was a scripted joke, part of an ongoing narrative that even connected to the NBA championship, LeBron James, and more, as I've pointed out in other videos. But here these numbers are. Bryce Johnson playing for this North Carolina team in their 106th year of existence. Jonathan, a name with 83 gematria, the 23rd prime. North Carolina just won with 83 points. This question right here, it's anybody's title with a question mark. That stood out to me because in Jewish gematria, that summed to 1420. 0 doesn't count in numerology. It's a lot like 142, like University of North Carolina, like the number connecting to Justin Jackson. I also noticed that in this SI issue, they picked the same Final Four as me. And consider this, True Seeker, I haven't watched a single college basketball game this year. I made all my predictions from spending Monday night and Tuesday morning going over the numbers and seeing what lined up for the tournament. And these were the 4 teams with the strongest alignment. That's how I made my picks. Not based on any knowledge of the athletes, but with some knowledge of how North Carolina, Kansas, how these programs have dominated college basketball. But I don't know anything specific about the players. Know a little bit about the coaches. Just shows you this gematria, there's something to it, you know? Put out all this work before these articles came out, before the president picked North Carolina in Kansas. Notice the score at halftime for North Carolina when they were hyping maybe an upset, 41-40. Read this backwards, 1-4-0-4. 0 doesn't count in numerology. It's almost like another 144 tribute, like what I've been talking about. 81 was also a big number for the Duke Blue Devils last year, who I predicted would win it, and did. One of the star players in the tournament, Denzel Valentine, just show you something interesting about why he wears the number 45. Spartans in gematria equals 45. A lot of times a player's number will coincide with his name. The Ravens football player who got hurt last night, number 25, Ravens equals 25. His last name, Walker, equals 25. Something very suspicious about his injury. You can read my blog about that. I'll link the blog post in the description for those of you who are into that. Michigan State Spartans, a favorite to make the championship, and they could. They have numbers that mesh, just not as well as North Carolina and Kansas, in my opinion. Something else I caught that made me laugh yesterday while watching the scores. I saw that these two teams had the exact same scores. They were the only games going at the time. And 33 and 42, very important numbers to the Freemasons, who rig it by the numbers. Amazing to think that there might be that kind of alignment going on in the scripting. And for those of you who think my work's a joke, I'll have you know that yesterday my video was frozen for over 12 hours at 302 views. The likes and the time it was here went from like 20 up to 50 before they finally put it up, and then it jumped up to 900 views. But they froze it at 302, and this is interesting because KU equals 32, the Amtrak crash, which I talked about in connection to the tournament, 32 people supposedly hurt. Maybe the powers that be were trying to give me a clue. Plus, I made my video 32 minutes, which wasn't intentional. But YouTube loves to freeze my videos. My recent Sandy Hook video, they froze at 666 views all day because that was a major number I talked about. All of this stuff should validate that my work is real. There's a reason YouTube is freezing this information. I'm messing with the powers that be. I'm showing how their scripted jokes are scripted, which is new knowledge to most of the world. And the powers that be, they want to keep the knowledge a secret for themselves. They want their rigging to be a secret. And, it doesn't deserve to be. These people need to be exposed for all their wrongdoing. Think of all the years they've been ripping everybody off. And one last point. People go, okay, I get how the pros could be in on it, but not the college athletes. How do they keep all these college athletes quiet? You guys are not asking the right questions. How are things kept quiet? The mainstream media controls what information people listen to. The mainstream media is one of the only voices that people listen to. If it's not in the mainstream, they don't believe it. They dismiss it. So even if a college player was out there saying it was all rigged, people just say he's a Looney Tune, he's crazy. Just like when the NBA ref came out and said it was all rigged. And then the mainstream media said, he was a bad person, he was lying, he was covering his own ass. People just believe whatever the mainstream tells them. It doesn't matter if 100 college players came out tomorrow and said it was all rigged if it wasn't in the mainstream media. Nobody would know about it. Nobody would care. Nobody would think it was valid. So for all of you who always question this way and bring your arguments back to that and let that be your guiding thought, you're not thinking deep enough. You're not realizing the way the world works. You're not realizing the way your fellow man is programmed. So I just got to say that, People only listen to the TV. That's why I'm putting out this work, an undeniable message that shows how rigged the television is and why you cannot trust it. All right, wrap that up. Wrap this video up. Until next time, Truth Seeker.